Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It's a lovely little Saturday morning over here. A little bit later than typically as we get going for the early morning hours, but a lot to talk about, man, since we last spoke. Or women or other genders that exist in this world nowadays. Z's, Zims, hers, and zers are all welcomed here. Just let me know which ones you want to be called first and foremost. And with that said, yeah, since we last spoke, 20 minutes literally after I posted my video yesterday, it comes out with news that Trump actually has coronavirus alongside his beautiful wife. And they are, I guess, getting taken care of. I'd imagine it's probably the best possible care that you could ever have in your life. The best of the best, the tippy top of care. Anyways, with that said, that did throw a little bit of a spanner in the works for my analysis on traditional markets, but more importantly, with the advent of the weekly closures, we have a lot to talk about with that. That's actually going to carry on over into Bitcoin land. Anyways, due to all of the the continuing onslaught of 2020 news that hits us in the face, what seems like every goddamn fucking morning that I wake up, I've actually pulled out all of my trading funds from Bitcoin. I'm not trading Bitcoin for the next couple weeks, most likely. Just going to be trading Forex, as I don't really like trading during these times of uncertainty. I want to see if the CFTC starts to initiate more charges towards more exchanges and see where that road goes. I also wanted to make a quick comment on that as well, because there's been a lot of talk around the web, and I wanted to reference one of my good friends, Elio Trades, or if you just know him, Elliot. He's a good guy, one of my favorite guys in the cryptocurrency space, along with a few others. And he came out with a video, I think yesterday morning or the night prior, basically talking about that whole disposition with what's going on with the BitMEX situation and how that's actually kind of good for the long term. I would agree with that. I was actually, if you listen to his videos, I was actually that person who was speaking to the lawyer, trying to figure out the information with regards to what's going on in this space. And when it came down to it, it seemed very, 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 very clear that in the near, maybe not in the notes in this so near of a future, but in the overall future over the next few years, it sounded like the SEC and the CFTC were really gearing up to take on this sort of a thing, basically, and clear the way for a more legitimized path, which is what I said yesterday and what I've been saying for the past year and a half to 2 years. So I believe that we're starting to see that being put into motion. So I want to see how fast this actually goes, or if it goes fast at all, or maybe it just falls on over and nothing comes of it. But for the meanwhile, I'd like to just kind of be a little bit more reserved. Again, my sort of disposition as a trader in general is conservative, as I don't really like taking on unnecessary risk. And in an environment like this, it would seem like there perhaps could be a little bit more unnecessary risk, so to speak. Anyways, with that said, putting the focus over here on the Krown application, would be found at app.krown.net. What do we see that is different today? Not really much difference, actually. Even the fear and greed index is just coming down 1 point from a 41 to a 40 read. We do see open interest coming down about 10 million, it looks like, but still holding the range. That range being between 1.9.5 billion to 2.1.5 billion, and we do see Bitcoin dominance basically hovering around that 58% region as well. So perhaps we'll actually look at the Bitcoin dominance chart today. I know I always say that, but I suppose that there's not going to be too many other new things to be looking at today. So definitely on my list. In fact, maybe we'll just open up with that. But before we do that, let's go over to the data tab. Just anything that's signifying something of note. Okay, so I do notice something right here. The futures premium over spot is actually dissipating a little bit. This is at the very beginning of the month, which is actually rather strange, as usually that's going to be the time where you have the most premium, as there's most time to expiry if you're looking at the front month, just theoretically speaking. So looking at that would be a little bit of an initial indicator that we might see a flip out of this range relatively soon. And well, I mean, that kind of does line up with the historical volatility percentile reads plus the volume and also pattern signatures that we've been looking at over this past week. So I do like to see these things start to come into view with each other. This one obviously being more like a tertiary confirmation tool rather than even a secondary or a primary. And we do see global funding rate still maintaining that 0.02%. Not anything too crazy here. So I suppose it will be time to go into the charts. Into the charts, sir. Into the charts, Mr. Batman Cave. Anyways, it is a weekend, and usually my rule is on the weekend, I don't really like to trade in general. Realistically, it's most likely just going to hold the range on the medium and higher term timeframes. And in this case right here, that would be between about 10,100 or just 10,000, we'll say, to the downside. And to the upside, the top side of our current range would be somewhere around about 10,750-ish region, as that does maintain our overall downtrend. So, if Bitcoin does spike in one of those regions over the weekend, could it be a nice easy scalp? Typically is, yes. But I want to be very, 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 very transparent here, because I think that it's important to say that I have no skin in the game right now at all. I'm not interested in trading this. And again, that's not to say that that's the right thing for everyone else to do. In fact, I would say that's certainly not the right thing for everyone else to do. Make your own decisions for yourself based upon your personal proclivities. But me being a risk-averse trader, I'd rather just watch this for a little bit of time. Trade some Forex, man. Forex is trending. Forex has all the opportunity in the world. You don't need to limit yourself to one asset. In fact, I would strongly suggest if you are looking to learn how to trade or looking how to learn how to do technical analysis, Forex is probably a better place to start than cryptocurrency land. I'm not saying that cryptocurrency land is a bad place, but I just think Forex is better. Anyways, looking at this right here, what do we have as far as the daily goes? Well, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, hammer, we have a hammer above the 89 expansion average. So that means that we're going to bounce up here, right? Right? Maybe because it is a weekend, yes, you actually might get another move back up to that 10.7 or even 10.750-ish region. But realistically, the way that traditional markets close for the week does make me look for a for continuation of the downside coming into next week. So for Bitcoin, that would likely mean back down to about the $10,100 base. What does that mean over the weekend? Don't know. I don't really have any major opinions on that. But if I was looking at the 12-hour right here, this one's one that is most obvious right now if I did have to trade the weekends. And any sort of a closure below the 200 exponential moving average right here, which is about 10,500-ish region, then yes, I would be looking for another swipe on to the downside, somewhere around 10.1 to about 10,000 even. Not anything too crazy with that, but we do see momentum oscillators on the same side as price action right now. As the trend starts to emerge, 12-hour Stokes are nice and angled to the downside. Going to be getting officially out of the bullish control zone for the first time in I don't know, about a week now. Yeah, this whole stint right here was maintained within the bullish control zone. And then also that is following up some regular bearish divergence here, actually, which Caretaker's RSI caught coming off of this top right here, which actually was playable, getting a move, even if you're trading it kind of after the fact, somewhere between about 10,650 all the way down to 10,350. Yeah, $300 move, not too bad. Off of a very, 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 very like small signal. I mean, this is not anything too crazy right there. It's not even anywhere near the bullish control zone, which is usually going to be a sign that it's not going to play out for all that much. So I would argue that that's already played out very, very vehemently actually. But anyways, going back to the daily, I want to see what we're looking at right here. We are seeing daily momentum oscillators turn down, actually rejecting the bullish control zone along the same path, and they will remain to the downside. If we can go reference the reverse Stochastic indicator by Mr. Pig, as long as we're below about 10,630-ish region. So that's kind of the magical number for Bitcoin to remain in a more immediate downside posturing as far as the daily goes. But again, I wouldn't necessarily be looking for this next move to happen until we actually get traditional markets open up for next week's of trading. So at the very earliest, maybe CME open on Sunday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, or what's more likely is probably somewhere around US Open on Monday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We can probably get the real market started once again. But for right now, if I did have to call a continuation of the downside, there's not really a good closure point right here if I'm looking at even the medium-term timeframes. But if I was looking for a wick continuation point, I would be looking for the low of yesterday to be taken out, 10,363 3/4 on GDAX, that is. And yes, then I would look for extension, another $300 down to about 10.1 or 10,000 even. As it is right now, the lower term timeframes like the 4-hour are shaping up to be another lower high. Yes, Caretaker's RSI has not confirmed that as a lower high right now. Now, this is one of those times where I actually would be operating myself more aggressively, as I do believe that this is going to initiate, this is going to confirm as as likely another lower high, especially if we do even just take out the last 4-hour low, which is 10,525.25, and especially more conservatively, if we actually close below there, which is how my settings are set right now, which is typically how I do it actually. And again, if this was during the real trading week, I'd probably be even front running this myself, as it's pretty easy to manage off this. But over a weekend, absolutely not. But that will also in kind initiate hidden bearish divergence here too, as we do have a slightly higher high on RSI, very, 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 very slight. So it would not be that crazy of a move here, just likely to bring price action back down to the prior low of yesterday, somewhere around 10,350-ish region. So with that said, I expect to see something relatively similar on the very low term timeframes. And by the way, while we are here, 4-hour momentum is technically trying to turn to the upside right now. Now it's doing that, but what would be needed to turn it back onto the downside? Anywhere below 10,455 on a 4-hour delta closure, and yes, it will turn back onto the downside. Here's the thing though, and here's what I really want to have a big focus on and follow up on, because we've been making a big fucking hullabaloo out of it. Is that even a word? Sorry, I might have just made some up. Sorry about that. It's like, for all the non-native English speakers out there, it's like, what is this? Google, Google Translate. No, it's just Krown speaking some sort of weird form of English once again. Anyways, looking at this right here, we do see a long-term contraction phase going in, basically starting September of this year, obviously, and that was getting the lows currently somewhere around like 98 to 9900. I'm just going to refer to it as 10,000 once again, and speaking towards the range that we've been working off of thus far, between about 10,000 and our highs of about a little bit above 11,100 region. So as it stands right now, this is still in progress, and I actually do believe that we're seeing a short-term break of this. Now, if you are looking at this as a more aggressive regression here, which actually I do believe is probably more right, than we've actually already broken, and that actually does make sense, because this would be about your 75% full area right here. And if we are going to be expanding above this area and maintaining above it, especially with the moving average above that regression, then you would expect on price action for it to continue this current trend as the volatility expands. And if volatility is expanding, well, while we just kind of confirmed another lower high right here, and we haven't necessarily confirmed a lower low, it would imply that we probably do have a higher chance of doing that. Again, I'm not necessarily looking for this to happen over the weekend, but probably into next week. Again, geared up with traditional markets, traditional markets. That's and we'll show that soon enough. Also want to follow up on yesterday's 4-hour jewel sell signal. We call this out here at this was 1900 my time, so that was where on price action. Where's 1900? It was technically, so it wasn't at the high. It was at this dildo right here. So as soon as this opened at about 10.7, and then that took you all the way down to about 10.350-ish region, I would argue that that's already played out. We did hit the fib, just as you see right here. So it is curling up, and that typically is indicative that the easy part of the move is over, and it's time to look for something new. But as far as the historical volatility percentile read goes, this one's really, 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 really important here, because it can actually give us it's going to give us, or what it can give us is the most preliminary signal that this is actually going to emerge outside of its current range. So the range, again, 10,000 to about 11,100-ish region. And what we want to see now to really confirm a break above or below the range, this can go both ways still. I would still kind of play it neutrally until Bitcoin fully takes a step outside of that range on, at the very least, a 12-hour closure, preferably a daily, but 12-hour probably does it, Maybe even a 4-hour could probably do it as well, if you make it a little bit more, lower, somewhere maybe around 99.50 rather than 10,100. But as it is right now, what that is telling us is that we want to really keep a keen eye on the volume signature now too, because we expect that to follow through next. Volatility is almost always going to go first. It's going to be the most, it's going to be the most aggressive derivative. And then this guy right here would actually suggest that yes, we already kind of have broken the volume signature, and we are seeing what could be breakout volume. But what I'd expect to see here is that coming into next week, we would really want to see follow through below the $10,000 level or $10,100 level on a daily delta closure. Pretty much right off the bat. So if that is going to work, that's what you'd expect. Otherwise, what's likely going on is that we're actually doing something more like this, and it's going to be a greater contraction phase, and we're going to be going on until this is going to be lovely. We're going to be going on until probably like late October, somewhere around here would be very statistically likely to break. So that would still speak towards the same range, but I do believe, based off the volume signature and the volatility, and seeing as we are getting very, very close to the open interest range, it doesn't even matter which side that it breaks out of, just want to see it break out of one side, then that would be a damn good indication that we probably are going to see this break sooner rather than later, which is my general disposition right now. I actually don't think that that's going to come back down into range, or if it does, it probably gets picked up as next week starts. So with that in mind, let's keep on going down to the low term time frame. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit off track here. I know it's fucking annoying. Probably screaming at your screen saying, "Krown, god damn it, you suck! You fucking suck!" Well, what can I say? I don't know. What do you say to that? Anyways, I always get these comments like, you need to make these videos shorter. Well, actually I don't, but I might, just if there's not that many things to talk about. But anyways, looking at the 3-hour right here, what do we see? We see kind of the same thing on the 4-hour. We do see that a local high seems to be forming right now. It's not necessarily confirmed. There's two ways to confirm this one, either taking out the low of this guy right here, which was midnight my time, which is 10,468. I think that would be a little bit too late to the party, most likely, or a closure below, let's call it 10,520-ish region. That would confirm this as a low, that would confirm this as a high. We'd have a series of lower highs right here and a series of lower lower lows, that would be your trend, and the trend is your friend, especially if we do have hidden bearish divergence to accompany that. And well, that would very likely initiate another move back down towards yesterday's low, another couple $100 lower, somewhere around 10,350-ish region. 3-hour Jewel, are we lining up for another sell? No, it's not looking, just looking like sloppiness right there. There's nothing to make out of that. 3-hour Stokes, what you doing? Not much, but pointed nice and erect to the upside, and it will remain to the upside as long as we're above 10,000, basically 500, it looks like. So 10,500 is a nice little pivot. Actually, in the 3-hour does seem to be getting this one rather well here. So if we do close below that, that would probably be the best, or sorry, that'd probably be the soonest indication for a very short-term move back onto the downside of the short-term range. That is going over to the 2-hour. We expect to see something relatively similar, and actually less similar. No, we do have a slew of regular bullish divergence coming off the lows right here, but is it relevant to think that that's already played out? Yes, I would say so. I mean, that's giving you a move off of a fucking 2-hour signal, by the way, a very low level signal to begin with, on a very low term time frame. But a signal nonetheless, and it already gave you a move between about 10,350 and where we are right now, $200 move on a 2-hour time frame. I think that's very reasonable right there. But what happens next is actually the most important part, and I think that the 2-hour is probably going to get this one a little bit better. Any sort of a 2-hour little closure above the 21 exponential moving average, and this will likely not form as a local high. So right now it is not confirmed at all, and this is like really splitting hairs on a weekend, which is usually against my rules already. So again, take this with a grain of salt. But I'm just kind of, I would just like to talk about things right now because there's not too much to talk about on the higher term time frames as it is that we already spoken about and beating that horse to death. But as it is right now, 2-hour Stokes are nice and erect to the upside. Do we see where they turn back down? Yeah, below 10,500 as well, similar to the 3-hour. So we do see these guys in concert right now alongside the hourly, which is a little bit leading into it, which we do see it turning down, currently speaking, from the bullish controls on hourly Stokes. Also, Caretaker is suggesting that we do have potential hidden bearish divergence forming right here, and yes, I would agree with that. Well, if you're using this as your anchor right here, obviously, well, actually, no, it'd give you 3 drives right here, but needs to confirm this as local high first, and that is why it is currently dotted. So if you do have access to his indicator, understand that if it's dotted, it is not confirmed. It's in progress and might be confirmed. It's the time to be aware, essentially. Have it on your radar if you are going to play that. Again, this is an hourly on a weekend. Take it as you will. That's my way of saying we're splitting hairs right now, man. We're splitting hairs. But yeah, would initiate another move back down towards that 10,350 or 10,400-ish level as the sol kind of turns down in unison. Anyways, looking at reverse Stoke, what do we see? Yeah, anywhere below 10,550, it will naturally remain to the downside. So that's going to naturally carry on over into the 2-hour, the 3-hour, and the 4-hour. So basically what it's saying is that, if you are going to be playing this as a local high right now, it likely emerges from this current point as it stands. So it actually is nice if we do have good confluence between all of those. I'm also curious if we can go to our secondary charts right here and see anything of note as well. Yeah, we did see the daily close below both the 10 simple and the 20 simple. The 10 simple having a negative slope, the 20 simple having a slightly positive slope. But as you can see, granted by the Bollinger bands, they are tightening up rather aggressively here. And with that in mind, that would suggest that, well, we're going to see resolution on this pretty damn soon as well. And if we actually even bring up the BBWs, I'm curious if that's going to show anything of interest here. It's Bollinger Band width's not something that you find on XXX Tube or something like that. But yeah, looking at this down here, what do we see? Yeah, we're actually pretty damn tight right now. Historically speaking, this does provide some nice, some nice breakouts. For some actual moves outside of the Bollinger Band ranges. You can see that we are usually at yearly lows about doesn't typically get too much lower than where we are right now, but it certainly can get a little bit lower. So how much more long or how much longer do we have within this range? I don't think more than a week, honestly. And that's again governed off of the historical volatility percentile and also the what's called the volume signature and open interest signature. What's also more interesting to me right here too is that daily MACD is starting to turn down around the zero read, exactly as we said, as the histogram backs off too, and that is coming alongside of a break below the 20 simple, which does not have a negative slope right now, but naturally speaking, as long as we're below that area, it will start to turn around probably within the next few days. I'd imagine it's gonna turn around. It's almost flat right now, and probably only takes a day or two after that in order to get a fully negative slope. And at that point, I would be looking for a breakout out of this because it's so tight right here. It's telling us that we're very unlikely, whether you're bullish bullish or bearish, this next move to either side is unlikely to be another like actual bounce again, in the same way that you got right here, in the same way that you got right here. The next one probably does break it. So if you're looking at the Bollinger Bands, it's pretty standard here actually. It's actually suggesting 10-2 to the downside of our last low, which I would agree with as well, because that would technically confirm a low, and then we have a downtrend in place, and to the upside it would basically be that 11,100ish region. I even think that you could use 11,000 even and probably be fine. Even 10.9 is probably fine as well to the upside. But as you can see right here, I'd just be looking for Bitcoin to play, as much to the 20 simple, on a weekend like this, and to the downside somewhere around like 10,350ish region. Again, I do want to say that I don't believe that we're actually going to break this over the weekend. It's rather unlikely. We do see sometimes breaks on the weekend in the same direction as the daily trend from the week prior. In this case, that would be, we don't really have any trend here, technically speaking. We have a high, we have a low, we have a lower high, but we don't really close on a lower low. So, again, it seems like it's incomplete to me. We're kind of looking at Jesus toast, and the Jesus toast hasn't fully formed just yet. Looking at MACD and kind of lining up all these babies, it does look to me like Bitcoin is more poised to break out to the downside. And we'll further expand on this when we go into traditional markets, which may be a really good time to do right now. Before doing that, look at probabilities. I want to see the probability of actually breaking the range, the long-term range here. And I'm going to use even 11,000 to the upside rather than 11.1. So I'm going to give it a little bit more juice to the upside, and to the downside, I'm going to use 10,100 on a daily total closure. That would give us a new low below this low right here. But technically speaking, anywhere lower than the 23rd of September low at 10,135, even just a wick lower, it doesn't matter, will be indicative of continuation, especially closing on a new low below this, which is actually 10,250. Yeah, hold on, 10,235 actually to be exact. Would confirm this as an actual downtrend right now. Anyways, let's see what Pig has to say about this in the probability panel. And by the way, if you're looking for this, I've been getting a lot of questions about this. If you're looking for this indicator, you can actually find it in the description link below for Pig. Anyways, let's use. I'm gonna use 10,200 right here, or 10,220, because that technically would be that would extremely likely be good enough to be getting an actual breakout outside of this range. And so looking at this, what's the probability of actually breaking the long-term range over the weekend? Relatively unlikely in comparison to the inside range probability. Inside range probability is going to be 58.5% above target probability, 20.25% versus below target probability, 21.25% as well. So breaking outside of the range, whether it be to the upside or the downside, is actually very, very similar to each other right there. Basically 1% difference. What's most likely to happen though is trade within this range. So if I did get a trade, or if I was trading the range right here, can you probably get some good scalps off of one side of that? Yeah, probably. And that's basically all that I say about that. Looking at daily RSI, what do we see here? It's still long-term constructed, but short-term and medium-term, it is starting to take a little bit more of a bearish twist. Again, I think that it's important to say that I'm really splitting hairs on something like that too. It's really not giving us all that much. What the biases are coming from a lot of other things right now, not necessarily RSI though. That's what I'd be saying about that, or at least on the daily. On the lower-term timeframes, yeah, we do see some divergences forming right now. And before we actually move on to traditional markets, we should look at the 2-day and 3-day, of which I believe we closed at 2-day last night. Yeah, we did. And this is looking more like a downtrend to me as well. I think the 2-day chart for Bitcoin spot is better than the daily chart, and it is similar to the daily chart of the CME for Bitcoin as well. So with that in mind, I actually do think that the 2-day chart is a lot more dependable than the daily. I guess there's just another way of saying that. And what do we see here? Momentum actually is technically to the upside right now as far as 2-day Stokes go, and will remain to the upside as long as we're above the 55, basically at 10,400 and 10,400, we'll just call it. That also means if we do close below it, well, not only are we going to see it drop back down to the 89, which is right around 10,000 bucks even, but we'll see this bearish cross continue to emerge outside of this 10,750ish region between the yellow 21 and the red 10 simple. Also, this is coming alongside of a 2-day potential hodl or short signal for the jewel. If you see this turn down, if you see the light blue get a more aggressive slope to the downside on the next tick, which we won't get until tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, then this is going to be a damn good signal to for basically hodling your shorts. More aggressive traders will look at that as as an order to open, and And well, there you go. I mean, that's now, now you have a catalyst for that one too. Speaking from momentum, what about a 3-day? Did we close one last night? I believe that we did. Yeah, we did. And what does it look like right here? Looks like another lower high as well. 3-day momentum is turning to the downside here too. And according to Pig, what needs to be maintained in order for us to maintain momentum to the downside? Anywhere below 10,750. So I would look at 10,750 as being the short, or not short term, but medium term range to the upside. Short term range to the upside, I think is irrelevant. I don't think it'd be too close to price action right now that it doesn't even matter. But 10,750 does hold weight, and then of course 11,000 above that to the downside. 10,220 is basically your prior low, and 10,100 is your low of range as it is right now. So take it as you will. But I do believe, granted off of all the different derivatives that we looked at on price action, probably would pay to be a little more aggressive in this current posturing. If one of those, if the lower end of that, of those ranges that I just laid out actually break, very, very likely it does follow through with that. But again, want to see it fully confirmed, and then we can get on. Get on with our lives, I suppose. What do we have here as well? Do we have some sort of? Oh no, I have a very far look back here period right there. That's why it's actually describing that as divergence. It's obviously not. I'm just kind of playing around with numbers. Anyways, testing out some new theories, man, of which that one not working too well. I'll put it that way. Anyways, let's go check out. Okay, so here's what I want to show you now. Let's go check out NASDAQ futures. And I believe that NASDAQ is going to set the tone for everyone else. And the way that NASDAQ closed on Friday, this is going to be your bull trap right here. This is a classic fucking bull trap. Now, I would be looking for this to likely open up into Monday and probably even trade, maybe even all the way back up to 11.4 or maybe an 11.450-ish region. It's certainly not out of the question. But I would be looking for this one to come back down further into next week and in the week after that, somewhere around 10.8 region, and probably set it up for lower. Looking at the way that the weekly closed, this is a clear rejection of the 10 simple, and with momentum heading down at the same time, I would look for any sort of an up open, a couple $100 up open into next week to probably get sold into, as this one actually gets its first try outside of the bullish control zone since May of this year. And looking at weekly RSI, what do we see here? It looks like it's going to find resistance right at the edge of the bullish control zone right here as well. So actually really getting fluid between those two things. Yes, we did have hidden bullish divergence here, or did we? Hold on, where's that coming off of? Yeah, we do actually. Yeah, we do. But I believe that's already played out. I mean, this was already a move from 10.8 all the way to 11.6. So almost $1,000 move right there. Yes, I believe that that's likely played out. And then what else do we have to look at right here? What about the monthly? Monthly did close as a potential reversal. It didn't really, if you're looking at just dildo straight up, is this your traditional reversal? You'd probably want to see a few more things. You either want to see us take out the low side of last month, which is 10,650 and a half. Kind of has a long way to go there. Or if we just close below basically this block right here at about 10.9, then yes, that would confirm this as a local high. And if this is confirmed as a local high, then we should naturally have bearish divergence here, and we will between this point, and this point. This is on a monthly, by the way, and monthly momentum will turn on to the downside as long as we're below 11,700. So as it is right now, that is our current high of this month, or just below it actually. And as long as we're oscillating below it, well, that is problems because monthly Stokes will turn down. Now, monthly Stokes, to be fair, actually have been holding the same range for like the last 10 years, but that would suggest that we have a lot of room to fill out between where we are right now and the edge of the bullish control zone, somewhere down here at around the 60 mark. What's more important is actually the monthly Jewel, which is lining up for a potential major sell signal. What I really want to see in order to initiate this is a very aggressive turn down coming over, maybe not this month, but likely November or December, and that's probably going to mark your next parabolic blow off top, of which we did call a potential parabolic blow off top right here. I really dislike singing my own praises and shit like that. I really fucking dislike it, but I do want to give myself a little bit of credit. If this actually does turn out to be the parabolic blow off top, this is gonna be the best call I think I've ever had in my life. So fair enough. Anyways, it looks like the rest of traditional markets are kind of falling through as well. But before we get on to SPY, I want to check out just more in depth in NASDAQ. So let's go through the tech sector and the financial sector, and you'll see pretty damn clearly as well that if we look at techs, then very much a reversal here too. Here's your hangman dildo right here, and then continuation of the downside below the 21 on a weekly closure, closing on your lows, by the way, with bad news. That's usually going to lead to a bloody Monday. So I do think that any sort of an up open on Monday morning likely does get sold into. We play out a range between where we are right now and in about 109. This is on XLK, by the way. But again, this just looks like a little more of an obvious chart to me, as momentum oscillators are pointed north while price action is coming down, maintaining a range and realistically maintaining this downtrend right here. So to me, that is more indicative of a bearish reset and will come back down and test the bottom side of this region, likely in line with Bitcoin as well. Looking at the financial sector, and by the way, the reason why I'm picking these two ones is because financials, or XLF and XLK, basically make up NASDAQ. So there you go. And looking at the financial sector, it's actually a lot weaker. So banks are looking weak right now, and that's usually a really bad sign. And it makes sense, with everything that's going on. Now, what I wanted to point out here on the weekly is that there is an impending death cross coming. I do think that this probably does get another try to the upside as well, probably somewhere around 25 or even a little bit north of 25. But realistically, with this in line here, as long as we're playing below 25 long term, this is your major top as well, topping out of the same area that you saw going all the way back from 0708, by the way. So looking at this right here, it does gear me towards more long-term downside. Very, very short-term coming into next week, I'd probably be looking for another pop back up, maybe like I said, all the way back up to like 25 bucks, but I'd probably be looking for a rejection there as well. What else do we have? Let's go look at SPY futures, and what do we got? SPY futures look a little bit less obvious here, closing above all major moving averages to close out Friday. What does the weekly look like specifically? Yeah, close below the 10 simple. I'd still say pressure down. Range going to be initiated between 33.55 and 32.30ish region, kind of the same range that we looked at for the last couple of weeks, but now curtailing a little bit more. And on the lower term time frames, like a daily, then what do we see here? We still see lower highs as it is, and more importantly, there should be forming. Yes, there is hidden bearish divergence forming right here. This is not confirmed as a lower high just yet, and I do agree with that. Again, I'm running more conservative settings for declaring local highs and local lows on caretaker RSI. If you want to use more aggressive settings like using the wicks, then yes, this would already be confirmed as it, and I'd imagine that it probably is printing that already. Looking at daily Stokes, what do we see? It's popping up to the edge of the bullish control zone, but what would be needed to turn it back down? Yeah, below 32.50. So basically, governing the bottom side of the range. So if it does come back to the bottom side of the range, do I think it's going to break right then and there? Probably not. No, it's probably going to get another bounce here before anything else. What about gold? What did gold do on Friday? Holding the range again as well. We did say that this one was likely to come back down. Looking at the weekly, same thing here as well. I don't have as strong of an opinion on gold though, because gold actually did act as a bit of a hedge on Friday. After all that news dropped, fucking news, Jesus Christ, man. Any news, no better time than now for that. But realistically, just held the range. Didn't really do anything spectacular or special. Didn't break out of its range. Didn't do anything, and just got rejected by the short-term resistance to the upside. So to me, this is probably more or less the same. I just revert to the monthly here and still look for a move back down to about 1750. Over this next month or two, and then probably coming in next year, probably 1650. Region. This is alongside momentum turning down right here with monthly Stokes getting their first cross to the downside since January of 2020. By the way, doesn't look like it's that far away, but yes, that was quite literally almost 1 year ago, right around here actually. If you're looking at price action, so there you go. And more importantly, after a few snakes, typically it does actually follow through with it. So in this case right here, I do think that we've likely found our highs at least for now. And does that mean in the short term we can't pop back up above 1900? Yeah, we could. I don't have a strong opinion on that. I have a strong opinion on the monthly here, not the daily. Anyways, let's go look at Eurodollar. How do we close it out? Oh yes, you goddamn glorious piece of shit, you. Closing at 117 or a little bit above 117. I'll still be looking at this as a as a major top being formed. Monthly is a bearish engulfing after all, and I would be looking for it to trade back down to about 115. Weekly did get rejected from the 10 simple, yep, and closing right around the 377. I'll be looking for this one to maybe trade another week of sideways within that current range that we saw from last week, and then set it up for a break to the downside later this month. Targeting 115 short term, and then where's this level right here? A little bit above 113 after that. So I'll be looking towards. So yeah, still falling through as well. Anyways, let's go check out Buterol. How's Mr. Buterol doing? Mr. Buters, sir, Mr. Buters. Looks like a cheap chart of Bitcoin actually, as it breaks below. Yes, we do have a confirmed local high right here. No divergences in sight as well though, so that is a little bit of a counterpoint to what I'm saying. But with momentum turning down and actually rejecting even getting out of the neutral zone, I'd be looking at this as more likely to retest back down to about 320 or 310, or maybe even as far as the 200 exponential moving average right here. But regardless of the fact, we have a series of lower highs and lower lows here. This one quite literally is already in a downtrend in contrast to Bitcoin. Here's your high, here's your low, here's your lower high, here's your lower low, here's your next lower high, and well, any sort of a lower low than what we currently have right now, that would be your resolution. This is more or less a descending triangle coming off of a nice down, and that is going to be your bearish redistribution formation. And we can make even a measure move on top of that as well. I'm going to do a very, very poor one right here because I don't really feel like being too scientific right now. But look at that. It would have good confluence with the 200 simple, which is all the way down about 270-ish region or 275. So long term, if this thing does break down, and I'd imagine that Bitcoin would break first, or maybe not break first, but it'd probably tell you at the same time, then I'd be targeting a move down there. And I'd imagine that Bitcoin would have a similar measure move based upon its current formation, probably down to low 9,000 at the same point as well. So let's go back to Bitcoin here. I guess I already did. I still have it in from yesterday. I still have it in from yesterday right here. But yeah, you can see that the breakdown from this, if you are looking at this as a bearish redistribution, the measure move would be all the way down to the 377 exponential moving average, which is about 9,200 right now. Great confluence there with our volume profile, point of control coming in that region as well. Very, 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 very thick AF node in that region. So I would be looking for another potential reversal zone within this area, low 9,000s, and a strong likelihood for bounce. But here's the thing, and I do need to be very clear with saying this as well, because weird things do happen, and this is just one of my general rules. And while I don't necessarily think that this is what's going on right now, technically speaking, I should be treating 10,000 as still a potential reversal zone until proven otherwise. When you spend this much time putting in what appears to be a downtrend, or at least a lot of things emerging as it, and bears will have their chance likely this coming week, then so a lot of things can happen, obviously, yes, but any sort of a closure below 10,100 especially, and even just below this prior low right here at 10,220 is likely going to do it. That would mark this off as a descending triangle. That's your bearish redistribution formation. All major moving averages start to switch into a bearish posturing, and we have a downtrend emerge, and your target's initiated down to the low 9,000s. Does that mean things would stop there for sure? No, I just think that we'd have a very, 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 very strong bounce there and a potential reversal. Same way that we treated this area right here at about 10,100. It's extremely strong chance for bounce. Could it be a potential reversal? Yes. What does it have to do in order to prove itself as a reversal? Well, in this case, needed to close back above 11,100, the former areas that we saw in August right here before this big breakdown in this little blue box, which gets all of these wicks within that region beautifully. Anyways, we never saw that, so more downside to come. Anyways, as it stands right now, I don't really think that much is going to happen over today, being Saturday. What else do we want to check out while we're here? I've already spoken your ear off. Yeah, I have, because it's 36 minutes into this bitch, and that is 36 minutes too long. Let's see. Can we maybe pull up? Is there anything else that's simple that we can go check out right now? What about? Oh yeah, let's look at the dominance. Let's look at the dominance, huh? Jesus, man. My God. Whoa, hey, what's these? What's that? That looks all kinds of crazy. Yeah, we called a major likely macro reversal within this region, I think like a few months ago at the start of summer, somewhere around like June, July. I'd still be holding with that, man. My opinions on this have not changed over the last few months. This is still looking like a macro reversal to myself, and we will see Bitcoin dominance pop up quite nastily over the next few months. Looking at the monthly, I think it's a little bit more clear here that we did put in what appears to be a long-legged doji dildo on the bottom, which typically is a sign of indecision, perhaps even reversal. And in this case, if we even trade above last month's high, which is 60.64, I'll be looking for this one over the next quarter to a half a year to work its way back up into the mid to low 60s. Sorry, well, I guess that would already be low 60s, but to be more specific, somewhere around like 63.5%. Is where I'd be looking towards. Now, I don't really trust oscillators on something like this. I don't think that actually works, but just looking at formations, or sorry, not formations, but just levels, that actually does seem to work long term for this, especially on the macro. Other than that, though, don't really have much else to be spoken about, I guess. So I will start to wrap this bitch up. Going back on a Bitcoin right here, we didn't really talk too much about what happens on a break outside of the range, but I guess that's more so because I don't really think it's too relevant on the weekend. But I think you probably already know because it's the same regions are are relevant both to the upside and the downside for the last few weeks, as it will be today as well. If Bitcoin were to break above 11,000, especially on a daily closure, I would be looking for quick moves to 11.5 and then probably play off the same regions that we saw in August. So that'd be 11.5, 11.8, and 12,000 respectively. To the downside, my opinions on this one as well. If Bitcoin were to close on new lows and actually break the bottom side range, I would look for an overall measure move down to about 91 and 9,200. But there would likely be bounces along the way. Areas of interest would be right here, right around 96.50, and right here at about 94.50 for short-term bounces. But I believe that there would only just be that short-term bounces. Anyways, I would like to wish you the best of the best. I'd like to wish you the happiest. And wait, is that right? I'd like to wish you the best, man. Anyway, and whatever the fuck, who else is listening out here? Do want to be respectful. Take care, guys. And I did it again. Sorry. I'll just shut up. Take care. Until next time.